Welcome back to the West London Sport QPR podcast on the back of a busy 10 days or so for the club. The transfer window closed last Thursday and it proved to be an unexpectedly busy few days for Rangers, who signed 4 players in Isaac Hayden, a long-time target for the club on loan from Newcastle, Republic of Ireland under-21 captain Joe Hodge from Wolves, and free agent Lucas Anderson, who joined after the deadline, a former Denmark international attacking midfielder, who up until last week was on the books of Aalborg, a club that was formerly managed by Marty Cifuentes. Striker Michael Frey also signed ahead of the Huddersfield game from Belgian side Royal Antwerp for a nominal fee, with 4 players shipped out on loan. Andre Giselle, the most high profile, joining Birmingham following what can only be described as an underwhelming 2.5 years at the club. But onto matters on the field, Rangers followed up their last gasp but vital draw with Huddersfield, with a hugely important and well-deserved 2-1 win at Blackburn, the first time they've won at Ewood Park in 25 years. I'm joined, as ever, by a man who's actually on the score sheet that day at Blackburn, Kevin Gallen. So, Kevin, that was a really big win, wasn't it, on Saturday?
Very important win, excellent win, good performance. I'd say we deserved the 3 points on the balance of the whole game, considering the poor performance against Huddersfield, which I wasn't expecting after, even though we lost against Watford, I thought we played well, had solid win against Millwall. And then the Huddersfield game I thought was very poor. I think one of the poorest displays, especially since the new manager, but also this season. And so to pick themselves up, the players and the whole squad, and to go to Blackburn and pick up 3 points in confident fashion was, it was surprising, but very welcome considering Huddersfield won their big game 6-pointer against Sheffield Wednesday. So the gap's still 3 points, which that can change in a matter of a couple of games with a couple of wins, and them losing. Or so very important win and well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually quite impressed with Huddersfield against Rangers. I thought they did a job on them. I thought they probably deserved to win, albeit they had lots of corners without ever looking like they were going to score. And ironically, the best 2 chances to win the score fell to Rangers, with Sinclair Armstrong should have scored really from that cross from Ilias chair, and then Kenneth Pound kneeing one into the top corner in the deep into injury time. And it felt underwhelming at the time, but I think you look back on it and think that could potentially be a crucial point, because as you said many times on here before, if you can't win, just make sure you don't lose. And the gap, and then with the win over Blackburn as well, I think it kind of drags them into it as well. They're kind of,
I mean,
not a place there at the moment.
Millwall are dragged into it as well now, and they're not on good form at all. But going back to the Huddersfield game, that point, it was an underwhelming performance, but that point could be crucial, because if we had lost that game against Huddersfield, we know what would have happened. 6 points is, it can be you can clasp it back or grab it back, but psychologically, if we had lost that game, it might have been, hard to take. But that knee into the top corner, hopefully at the end of the season, will be a vital goal for us and us staying up. But yeah, I think there's a few teams now are sort of been dragged in, and it's going to be a very interesting last 2-3 months to the season, and it's all to play for. And starting on this Saturday against Norwich, it's a big opportunity to get something out of that game as well.
Yeah, just looking at the league table here now, actually, and Stoke are right in it. Rangers play Stoke next week. I think Birmingham are down there, but I think they spent a bit of money. I think you imagine they'll probably get out of it. And then Blackburn, they're a real sorry mess up there at the minute. The player they were going to sign on deadline day, that's all fallen through due to a technical error by the administration staff at the club. And then Swansea are the teams to watch for me. They just seem to be in horrible form, and the new manager in there hasn't really had the bounce. And you got, as you mentioned, Millwall, who are kind of
Well, I think it's everyone from Millwall down. You know, Millwall will be looking over their shoulders. It's 5 points from bottom three, and you know, I'm not. I actually think, you know, looking at the games this season, the teams that QPR played, I haven't been impressed with Millwall at all. Even in the game they beat us at Boxing Day, you know, it was very even, and then we were the better team against them a couple of weeks ago. But also Swansea, when they came down here, I wasn't impressed.
Mm.
I think they're in it, and Stoke, even though Stoke I thought played well when they had 11. I was quite impressed with them. I thought, why were they down there? But, you know, something is not right at Stoke over the last few years. They've had some poor seasons and they can't seem to get it going. So I think this is, you know, there's about six teams in there who potentially could be in that bottom three.
I guess the attitude has to be just don't worry about everyone else, just win your games and
that's
all you can do, isn't it?
No, I know, and I don't really like talking about other teams. I'm just mentioning it because it's a good discussion. But you have to just concentrate on yourselves, and you know, you go into every match and you need to pick up some sort of points, but you have to really concentrate on yourselves. And if you get yourselves right, you should get out of trouble. But you know, I think it's more of a fans thing where you're looking at other teams and see what they're doing. And I've had this conversation with my son, and he said, "But if they lose and we win," and I was like, "Yeah, I know what you're saying, but we've got to win. Don't worry about them. If we win and we keep winning, we'll be all right."
Well, my daughter keeps saying to me, "Well, at least we're top of the bottom."
Yeah. So yeah, there's a good one.
Linings.
Yeah, but it's also it's a case of with this, but you know, the manager and the players and whoever and the staff should be just talking to the players as if to say, just concentrate on your own game, concentrate on 3 points every time you play. And when you do that, you'll be all right.
Yeah. I mean, to Fuentes does make a point. He always says, you need to be humble, be humble, be humble. And you can celebrate the result and then just move on from it. You can't kind of, and I think that has something they've been guilty of, I think, in early in the season. They've had a good win and then not been able to back it up.
Yeah.
You know, the performance against Millwall wasn't replicated in the performance against Huddersfield, was it? So
no, it's a case
you don't follow up for a good win at Blackburn by phoning it in against Norwich.
Yeah, I think I don't like over celebrating. I don't like over celebrating when you win, and I don't like being too down in the dumps when you lose, because you can play really well and lose a game, and you can play poorly and win a game. But you know, you got to sort of stay on that level of you win, you go up a little bit, obviously, because everyone's delighted. You lose, you're down a little bit. But if you win and you go too high, it's always about the next game. And if you lose and you're too depressed or you lose too much confidence, that ain't going to help for the next game either. So you got to stay on the level as much as you can. There's going to be little bits of ups and downs, but not like that and that. So win your games and just move on. We're in a situation where we win on Saturday. We won on Saturday. Now let's concentrate on Norwich at home. Yeah.
So, I mean, firstly, Isaac Hayden, I don't think he needs that much introduction. He's a player that I know former director of football Les Ferdinand was very keen to sign back in 2016, and they nearly had him. But he chose to go to Newcastle from Arsenal, which is fair enough. And then when he went to Norwich on loan last season, they were in for him then, and they didn't get him, which probably turned out to be a blessing because he spent most of last season injured. So, given the amount of injuries alone he's had last season, it probably was a good thing. But I mean, on the outset, I think he's a good signing. I think he's
a solid player. He's got experience of high level and championship. The only thing I was, when you look at his, I think he's played sort of maybe 14 games maybe in the last year and a bit. So you always got to worry about the injury record and can he come into the team straight away and play 90 minutes? Can he come into the team and play 3 games in a week at a good level, considering you haven't played that much football? And you come into a team and you come to a new club and your energy levels and you're up. Do you know what I mean? Because you're buzzing, but then it's after a couple of games when you sort of, that's when you're you sort of not flatline, but you understand you're high as a kite at a new club. You want to impress. You're all buzzing, and then after 3 or 4 games, can I continue this? So he's a solid defensive midfielder who's played at the top level with Newcastle. So hopefully he can stay fit, and if he stays fit, I think it'll be a good loan signing.
Yeah, I think the good thing about it is that he's not expected to come in and start every game, isn't he? Because you've got Colback, Field, Colback, Field, Dixon, Bonner can all play in that centre midfield role. So you just need. I mean, Colback never seems very far away from a booking. Neither does Sam Field, and also Colback's age, he's prone to picking up little pulls on that. So you've got that kind of extra body to come in and just do that really important role in the middle of the park. Which Sam Field being out. He's out again Saturday. He missed 2 games due to a ban. So it's good that you can have someone who's of a similar type of player come in and do that job.
That job is needed, but he can. I think if you look at his pass record, he can play centre half and he can play right back, and so there's a bit of versatility there as well as with Sam Field being injured and Colback, like you said. So if an injury to Reggie Cannon, or they might want to go a little bit more solid at the back and play a bigger man. If you're playing against a team for set pieces and stuff like that, he can slot into the right back role as well. So, hopefully he stays fit, and hopefully he's fit enough to play when he's needed.
Yeah, and then Joe Hodge came in from Wolves. He's a player. I've got to be honest. I've only seen little cameos. I've covered Wolves 3 or 4 times this season in games, and he's come off the bench sort of 2 or 3 minutes towards the end, and and it's only really from what the brief bits I've seen him playing for the Republic of Ireland. But my good friend who covers Wolves for the Express and Star rates him very highly. He's very highly rated at Wolves, and they got him from Man City. He was supposed to be released by Man City in the eyes of many at the club there. He was voted their Scholar of the Year in the academy in 2000 or 2021. No, sorry, 2020, 2021. And then end up at Wolves, but has a great fine impact off the bench Saturday, wasn't he? What a finish that was! That's kind of something we haven't seen from a QPR player for a long time. It feels.
It was, and from what I've heard from other people, he's more of a sort of a closer down, defensive sort of type midfielder. Getting about the pitch, winning loose balls, and I don't think he's known for his goal scoring, from what I can gather. But I have to say, what an impact off the bench. A great finish, and it ends up as the winning goal. So he'll be absolutely buzzing. And there's nothing worse when you're a young lad, 21-year-old, and you're trying to make your way in the game. And Wolves, you're at Wolves, a Premier League team, and you can't get into that team, and all you want to do is play first team football. And now he's got this opportunity to play in a Championship with QPR. In what is some really exciting games for the club, because we're not mid-table. We need to win matches, and it is one of those. It's going to be some exciting games that are coming up in the next 2 months, because we're desperate for points, and he's going to be involved in that, and it's be a great education for him, and what a start to his QPR career. Fair play to him.
Yeah, and then Lucas Anderson, 7 caps for Denmark. Attacking midfielder, long hair, so he sort of fits the role of a playmaking midfielder. But he was, as I say, Sprinters had him when he was managing in Denmark. He's another player that's had a bit of a checkered injury past, but the big question is, can he take a corner?
Well, I hope so. Well, let's get him on the pitch first. But I don't know anything about him, to be honest, so we have to wait and see. I haven't, other than who he's played for, and he's obviously the manager knows him and the manager trusts him. He was a free transfer. Is that right? Their season's over.
Yeah, he's all but got relegated at the end of the last Denmark season, which finished probably 3 months ago, I think.
Okay, so
his contract was torn up, so he was eligible to join Rangers.
That's another interesting one. He hasn't played for 3 months. Is that right?
Yeah, it's winter in Denmark and Scandinavia, isn't it? It's this season.
He'll need a few games to get up to speed. I would say he'll be coming in as more of an impact sub, or as a sub at the moment, to get him up to 94 minutes in the Championship is tough. tough league. When you play Saturday, Tuesday, so don't really know much about him, but other than that the manager knows him and he obviously trusts him.
And him and Tommy Fleetwood have never been seen in the same room.
Yeah, that is very.
And finally, a striker, Kev. You got a striker finally. You've been calling for Rangers to sign a striker for a long time. They have a striker, but
yeah, it's only taken 3.
He's Michael Frey, who's a Swiss striker who's played in Germany. This is kind of in your wheelhouse. You'd have seen him play.
I've actually seen him play.
Yes. Schalke. Have you scouted him in your role?
Yes, I've seen him play. Big man. He will need, I think, crosses into the box. Mobility, not brilliant, but he's a big fella. I think if you put some good delivery in the box, he'll go and attack it. But another question mark over, he hasn't played. Yeah. He hasn't started a game for a year, so it's going to take him, unless, I don't know what his actual fitness levels, but I always do believe that match fitness takes a little bit of time, because I'm stating the obvious, but to get match fit, you have to play matches. So, and he hasn't played 90 minutes since March of last year. But I have seen him play, and he's a big fella. And if you get the right balls in the box, he'll attack it. But he ain't going to be one who's going to be sprinting into the channels and outrunning the opposition centre halves.
Can he hold the ball up?
Yeah, he's a big lub. He's aggressive. He's a handful. He ain't easy. I wouldn't say he's easy on the eye, but if you put the ball in the box, I'm sure he can get on the end of things.
Because that has been a problem for Rangers, not being able to make the ball stick up top. Is that someone who can come in and sort of?
Yeah, I'm sure if you get the ball
off, is it?
I'm sure because of his sheer frame that he'll be able to hold the ball up. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, there's been a lot of times this season and last season where I've saw the strikers, Lyndon Dykes, and I expect more from him with his link up play, and Sinclair Armstrong. Really, that's another part of his game that he needs to improve, and he is getting better. Where Sinclair Armstrong wants to run more into the channels and chase and stretch the opposition defenders. This Michael Fry will be more of a target man. He ain't going to be running like Sinclair Armstrong into the channels, but he'll be trying to pin the centre halves and get hold of it, lay it off, and get in the box, and that's what his strengths are.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose he's not going to be out to start. I would imagine, just purely from what I saw of the Blackburn game. He looked like someone who hadn't played for 9 months, which is not a knock on him. It's obvious, if you haven't played that long, you're going to be very rusty. So, but I mean, but just having an option off the bench, just someone you can throw in from the subs bench as a forward. It's just something you haven't had, is it?
I was thinking about this the other day, and where QPR, I think when everyone's fit, I think QPR got 13, 14, good championship players, but you always sort of look to your bench. If you've got a strong bench, it's vital. Players get tired, players a little bit out of form, players pick up an injury, but if you've got some real quality or options coming off the bench, it's so important for the team. Sometimes a centre forward, it might not be working for you today. The centre half might have your number, and you're not suited to playing against him. He comes off, you bring another centre forward on, and it might be his day, and they're hungry to prove to the manager that that person should be playing. So, you need a strong bench in any football club.
Now, you wouldn't call either Anderson or Frey kind of young upcoming prospects, would you? They're kind of
well, the senior
in their late 20s, which I guess shows where Rangers are in terms of what they need to kind of stay in the division.
Well, I think the club has talked about over the last 3 or 4 years signing younger players to develop and to sell on, to sort of make money to be sustainable and that. But the situation we're in this season is we ain't got time. We haven't got time to develop players at this stage of the season. We need experience. The manager's gone for experience and the player, especially Anderson, that he knows to get us out of this mess. So, be interesting to see. I just hopefully they can hit the ground running and stay fit. That's just my only concern when I hear players haven't played that long for a long time. It's just when you play 90 minutes and then there's a Tuesday game and you just pick up, that little niggly injury and it can keep you out for 2 or 3 weeks and you get into that cycle. So I'm sure the manager knows this and the medical team know this, and I think there'll be more at the moment in the next maybe month. There'll be more playing from the bench and trying to be an impact.
Yeah, and I think people need to have a bit of patience there as well. I mean, I know patience is in short supply given the situation, but I mean, I remember going out to a game at Barnsley, and Rangers got beaten 2-1, and Heider Helgeson was playing up front, and he was obviously unfit. He didn't look. They'd signed him, I think, round about deadline day time, and it was in the last part of the season, if I'm not mistaken. And he was getting absolutely battered by, you're a waste of money, you're this, you're that, and he wasn't fit. And then he went on to become, one of the best strikers the club have had in sort of modern day times. He was a fantastic player. You could see he was going to be a good player, but he just needed time to get fit. And I think, I'm not saying Fraser will be as good as Heider Helgeson, but people are just.
But Ian, it's so important the difference between fit and match fitness. Yeah. It's chalk and cheese. To be, you can go do all your training in the gym and whatever, but like you go out even in training, and then say you've been out for 2 or 3 weeks injured, and you get back to training the first day, your feet don't move quick like you want it to, and you're just a little bit off. But then that will take like maybe 3 or 4 days, 5 days of training, like good solid training. Then you get into a match situation and you're feeling a little bit the same. And it takes 3 or 4, you want to make a run, but that run is a struggle. Where in 5 games time, that run is just nothing. You just do it. And that's the difference between match fitness and training fitness.
Yeah. So just in terms of the signings, I mean, Christian Nuri, the CEO, gave a kind of detailed interview on the club website, sort of, describing what they did and, how they, with modern day scouting. I mean, he's talked about sort of scouting screens and data analysis and all that. And it's very different now, the whole kind of, the whole scouting to like scouts wearing dirty rain macs, sitting there with a notebook, sort of saying the boy's got a good left peg and all that. I mean, you do it for a living. What's the kind of, how does scouting work now? It's a lot more detailed, and are you feeding information in the computer? How does it all work?
Well, there's 2 ways. Some clubs just do it on stats and stuff like that, where some clubs will do it on stats and watching. Now, a great thing of like if you scout, and there's no right or wrong way. If that's what you want to do and you get success out of it, do it the way you want. But if you just do, in my opinion, if you do it just on stats, so if you have a centre forward at the club, yeah, and you think you need another centre forward at the club, and you're going to play 2 centre forwards, and on the stats it says his goals and his he wins these headers and he makes these runs, yeah. But if you and you sign that player, and if you put those 2 centre forwards together and they're so similar, it ain't going to work. Do you understand? It's not going to work. I don't think it will work. If you're playing 2 centre forwards who both want to come towards the ball and hold it up, it ain't really going to work. You want a centre forward who wants to come and hold it up, and another and his partner to maybe run in behind to stretch the play. If a centre forward is the 2 centre forwards are occupying the back post all the time, that's not going to work. So you got your stats, and then you got people who do your eye. I think you do it on both. You have your stats as well, and then you go and watch, or you go and watch and say this player's good. Let's see what his stats are like. And I'm not talking about just stats as in goals. I'm talking about runs, how many sprints he makes, how many, if you're a defender, how many tackles. You can have a defender, a centre half who he wins 80% of his headers in a game. But if them 80% headers are mainly won from goal kicks, and he doesn't win any headers from crosses, what's more important? So the stats will tell you he wins 80% of his headers, but it doesn't tell you what position. You have to know what position you win the headers from. So if you don't win any headers from a cross or from corners, which QPR haven't been, they've sorted it out in the last bit, but we weren't winning any headers from corners against. That's not a great stat, but the centre halves are winning all their headers from goal kicks. What's more important? So it's about a bit of that. But regarding the signings of QPR, the manager obviously knows Anderson, so that signing is on him. Isaac Hayden has been on our radar for ages. I would say the agent has rang up and said, "Look, are you still interested? He wants to come." Michael Frey, there's a lot of deals being done with agents ringing up, and then you sort of, this man's available. Do you fancy him? I know you need a centre forward. There's phone calls going back and forth, and then you'll go to your stats people at the club. What's his stats? And then it's a case of, look, QPR. Every football club's got their budget, and if you can afford him, does he want to come? Can we afford him? Can we afford his wages? Does he fit into our financial structure? And there's so many permutations. Is there other clubs in for that player? Does he want to go here, or is this his best option? Does he want to come to London, or does he want to go and live in Norwich? London's got a big pool with foreign players, massive. So there's so many permutations of signing of players and what you go through. A lot of times there'll be, where I work, if you sign a player, you've probably watched him 10 to 20 times.
Yeah,
and that's what happens to get it right, because there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money involved, and you need to get your signings right. And you can't get all your signings right, and I understand that. That's no. But if you do 10 signings, if you do 10 signings, I believe if you get 7 right, you've done really well. Because some people don't settle. They can pick up an injury. It just don't suit them. And this is the main one as well, about stats and this. You need to know what his attitude's like. That is the biggest. You don't want to be signing a player who comes in and is absolutely awful in the dressing room. And this is a case of not stats. This is a case of you're ringing up previous managers. What's he like? You're ringing up everyone. What's he like? Good trainer. Is he okay off the pitch? Is he any problems? That is probably the most important thing. Attitude, and is he a good lad?
I mean, it's obvious that phone call, everything wasn't made about Taylor Richards last year. I was talking to an agent last week and saying that he's basically been blackballed in football. That no one, to get him out of the club, they're going to have to try and get him abroad, but no one's going to touch him. And he needs to. He's under 4 managers now, and none of them have got a tune out of him. There's real red flags about his attitude, his performances, and they spent a bit of money on him as well. It's been, it's not a great look for the club, sort of recruitment wise.
And that is, and it's not on ability, it's on attitude and application. So, you have to do your homework, and your homework is mainly, it starts with ringing up previous managers, previous coaches, people that that have coached or worked under these players, and what are they like. But then some managers will think, and their egos will be big enough to think, well, I can change him. I can change this lad. I can do this. At the moment, for Taylor Richards, like you said, 4 managers, and no one can seem to change him. The only person who can do it is himself. Yeah.
But Fuentes, he's starting to sort of make his mark on the team in some ways. Osman Kakai, that's it. He looks like he hasn't featured even in the squad since that Millwall defeat on Boxing Day. And Dazell's days were numbered after the loss to Cardiff at home. And I saw some stats the other day actually, which were quite interesting. That with Cervantes in charge, Rangers will be mid-table. You know, he tightened them up defensively, but you know, they seem to be heading in the right direction. But it's a case of just, you know, not having that one step forward, two steps back.
Yeah, you don't want to be. I mean, big game on Saturday, really good performance against Blackburn. You need to have some consistency to replicate those good performances and carry it on for the season. I think he'll be happy with when he looks over during the match that the bench is a lot stronger, that he can change it. It's going to be a really exciting last 2.5, 3 months to the season, and just hopefully we can get out of it. And I think we got a good chance. I believed if I would have been really worried if we had lost on Saturday against Blackburn. But that could be a season-defining result.
Yeah. Okay. So Norwich are the visitors on Saturday. Historically, the Norwich City brings back nightmares for QPR fans of a certain vintage. The 1976 team, they lost to were denied the league title thanks to a defeat at Norwich, and they were sort of a team that Rangers play very regularly over the years. I think Ipswich and Norwich are the team that QPR played most in their history, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm looking here now. At 1 point off the, so they've got something to play for,
and they're in good form as well. I think they've beaten Hull away, which is a good result. They've beaten West Brom. Their only recent defeat in the last 4, I think, was narrow 1-0 at Leeds. It's going to be a tricky game, but to be honest, I did the game at Carrow early in the season, and that's a game Rangers should have won. They must be looking at that videos of that and thinking, we can here, we got a good chance of getting something from this.
100%. I'm a believer that there's 3 really good teams in the Championship: Leicester, Southampton, Leeds, and they're the teams that got relegated. They've got the parachute payments. They've got real good squads. And Ipswich have had a fantastic season considering. Other than that, I think everyone's very sort of similar and on their day can beat each other, which has been proved over the season. Norwich, they're 1 point off the playoffs. They've got something to play for. Obviously, they want to get into that playoff situation towards the end of the season, and we've got obviously something to play for. So I think it will be a really good game, really good atmosphere, because they always bring a good crowd with them. Norwich, they're well supported. But I do think we can get some sort of result out of them and out of this game. And if we play like we have done against Blackburn and Millwall, but even Watford, where we created quite a lot of chances, I think we can get something. But it's another game, Ian. Especially at home, we can't. It's a must not lose game. Yeah, it's a must not lose game. Obviously, a win is fantastic, but it's a must not lose game.
Yeah, I think it's helped by. I think the game kicking off at 3 o'clock is a good thing. I think those sort of early morning starts don't really. I don't know why that is, because you think with footballers, because they train at 11 o'clock in the morning, Kev, that kicking off at midday, 1 o'clock would kind of.
Well, I think it's a lot to do with the atmosphere and the fans. It's always a little bit quieter during the day. Being a fan, Ian, you need to get to the pub a bit early on half 1. Because the atmosphere is a little bit, it always is, and the players can feel it as well. And 3 o'clock, obviously that's the time you want to play on a Saturday. But results wise, I'm gonna go 1-1.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it to be. I'm gonna tip Rangers to win 1-0, and it's gonna be a very nervous kind of 1-0. And takes him into that Stoke game next Wednesday very nicely. That's my prediction: a 1-0 win for Rangers, ending Norwich's good run of recent results and continuing QPR's good recent run of form. So there we are. Right, Kev, thank you very much, mate. Thanks for your time as ever, and thank you for joining us. And we'll see you again soon.